sort of like Trouble's foster mom or adopted mom. It's the truth, because my niece Kendra is the one who originally birthed Trouble, if you will, came up with the concept of Trouble, and then I sort of picked him up and we're off and running.
So you are caring for Trouble right now.
I am,
and
yes.
You're taking very good care of Trouble.
Correct. I'm a troublemaker, sort of.
Right. But Trouble is a very helpful stuffed animal. Why don't we rewind a little bit and talk about who Trouble is and what Trouble does for kids. And adults, too. We'll get to that as well.
It's the truth. Trouble was created, again, by my niece Kendra when she was just 12. We had had a lot of cancer losses in my family. Her grandmother, her father, our family dog, right in a row. She was at my house one night, and the St. Jude telethon came on, and she was just doodling, you know, at the table. St. Jude telethon came on, and I'll never forget it. She looked up and she said, "Oh, I have to help those kids." And she just went, bing, and she drew this dog. And then she decided his name was going to be Trouble, and together we came up with slogans, you know, like Trouble says be tough, when trouble comes you're never alone, where there's trouble there's hope. And kids tell me that this little dog has an energy and they can feel it. And I believe them. So not only are there many kids sleeping with Trouble the dog, but many adults as well.
How old was Kendra when she came up with this idea?
12 years old.
12 years old. And how many years later is it now?
Oh, well, she's 24 now, so we've been working at this for a while.
Did you ever think a beautiful plush stuffed animal like this would have such an impact on so many people and in your life?
I didn't. You know, when she drew that dog, it was like, you know, if you see people on Oprah Winfrey, they talk about the fact that it was a divinely inspired moment. I get it, because that's exactly what it was. It was bang, and she drew him. Bang, his name is going to be Trouble. He's going to be Gray. It was all orchestrated to the point where I really feel that this we call this little dog an angel in disguise, and he is. It's the truth.
And he's made in America.
Yes, he is made in America, which was very difficult to do. Originally, I had him made in China and ran into a few snags over there and decided, you know what, why can't he be made in America? So he costs us 2.5 times what it cost us to have it made overseas, but he's like a keepsake toy. Kids have kept Trouble for years. This is Reagan, this is Abby, and this is Ashley. And they came down to talk to us about Trouble a little bit today. In today's world, what are you thinking about? So you can just tell them a little tiny bit about Trouble. Go ahead, Reagan.
Oh, about Trouble?
Yeah, just tell them a little bit about what Trouble means to you.
Well, he usually helps kids, like, when they're, like, sad or when they need help and they can hug him.
Whatever's on your mind, whatever you think about. What are you thinking about these days?
I like the world now, but then they keep on coming up with technology.
Yes?
More technology, and I kind of like it is now.
Oh.
And I don't really like how they're making cars drive by themselves.
I never even thought about that. So that's important. Yeah. Too much technology, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very, very good. Yeah. Anything else? That was excellent. Yeah, I should have brought that up. That was great. So that's on your mind a little bit, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So would you like to tell us what's on your mind? What would you tell Trouble?
Sports, I guess.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You like
I
sports?
like the sports.
Yeah. Good idea. Now, what are you thinking?
Probably sports again.
Sports again? So that's good. So you girls enjoy playing sports?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? I think that's good. Anything else you want to say?
Just, like, tell him, like, if I had fun or not. Did good.
Oh, so you would tell him if you thought you did good. Oh, I think that's, and because he would be listening, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's excellent. So these are happy kids. Anything going on with other kids you think Trouble should know? You've had Trouble for a while, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, how long?
Like, since Trip, like, started doing this. He's, like, I guess a good listener, and, like, he sort of helps me if I would talk to him, because I would feel like I could talk to someone. Yeah. To me, Trouble is like a dog that if kids are like worried or scared about something, they could talk to Trouble about like any problems or anything. He helps
he visits kids and like helps kids.
Trouble is like a dog that like helps you, and he visits kids in hospitals that need help and that need a hug or need to tell someone something. He can really make kids feel better just talking to him.
He can, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever talk to him, Reagan?
Yeah, sometimes.
I think so. Yeah, I thought so.
Also my mom, especially. My mom and Trouble and like my frogs.
You talk to all of them.
Yeah.
See that? That's terrific.
I think it's special that Trouble just helps children in need. I think that it's pretty great that like if you don't have anyone around, you could sort of just like pick him up and talk to him so you can really feel like you'll be like listened to.
There's a little gray puppy we'd like you to meet. He has a tag that says Trouble, but was lost on the streets. Trouble looks different. A black ring round his eye. People walked past him, but he didn't know why.
Trouble was dirty. He was scared and alone. He wanted a hug and a warm place to call home. Days turned to nights. He was losing hope. But did Trouble give up? Oh, never. Nope. Trouble was hungry, and he smelled something good. Then he found Nani's Pizza in the neighborhood. Nani adopted Trouble as her very own. She gave him love, hope, and a home.
His message is simple. Always have hope. If you feel like giving up, just say no.
How did Sheila Duncan arrive in Marblehead?
I was born in Lynn, grew up in Beverly, and my dad was the originator of the sail loft in Marblehead.
That's known as Maddie's.
Correct.
Maddie's Sail Loft.
Yes. He asked me to come to work for him back in 1984, and unfortunately he was diagnosed with lung cancer at the same time, and he passed away in 1989. So my niece Kendra is named for him, and I think he's got quite a hand in this Trouble mission too.
So the original tie basically is through your dad and
Yes.
Maddie's Sail Loft.
Yes, that's why I came to Marblehead, and I worked there for 18 years. So, and I'm particularly happy to be at the Three Cod today because I worked so closely with Chip Percy. He was our manager, general manager down there, and he and his wife Marcy have been such huge Trouble supporters. So I'm particularly happy to be right here today.
What does it mean to have you? You were in the restaurant business, obviously for 18 years. Your dad, many years before that. Three Cod Tavern is very supportive of Trouble in you.
Excellent, yeah.
What does it mean for you to have the restaurant industry, a local business in Marblehead, to really support you?
It's priceless because people, Chip and Marcy have taken the time to see this grow. They've seen all the people that we've helped. There are big, tough guys who come into the Three Cod and who love Trouble the dog. So we've had wonderful support from the Cod, and we go back a really long time. And we also have wonderful support from other businesses. Marblehead Opticians has been a huge supporter. Groom Construction, I could go on and on. So people see that this isn't just a stuffed animal. Trouble is a proven coping mechanism for kids and grown-ups. And we've brought Trouble to Marines. There are Marines that sleep with Trouble. Retired policemen in Marblehead sleep with Trouble. So Trouble gives people something to hang on to and talk to. So it's been pretty miraculous even for me.
Did you ever think Trouble would cover so many different situations? Trouble deals with cancer, burn unit survivors, trauma from the military, childhood trauma like myself.
Yes. There are so many parents who tell me that their child might have autism, won't make a move without Trouble the dog. So when I talk about the fact that he has an energy or a spirit or whatever you want to call it, there's a lot going on with this. And someone just said to me not too long ago, an attorney actually, he said, Trouble is going to decide where he wants to go. Through our foundation, he is in cruisers. So when a police officer picks up a child that's been in some unimaginable circumstance, the policeman has Trouble as a tool to give to the child, to comfort the child while they deal with whatever it is that's happening, and then they get to keep Trouble.
The state police and other local police departments throughout New England have Trouble in the car. Can you talk to me about what Trouble does with the police department?
What they tell us, I'm going to give you an example, and this actually came from the chief of police in Manchester, New Hampshire. We were fortunate enough to have help and were able to donate Trouble through Speedway Children's Charities to the Manchester, New Hampshire police. The chief came in, he grabbed Trouble, he said, I love this, I love everything about this. He said, I can feel, I said, you know, kids tell me they can feel this dog's energy. He said, I can feel it. So we brought 75 dogs and books. He said, today, just this minute, I could use 875 of these because there's so much happening with kids that are affected by the opioid crisis or kids that are going into foster care or whatever. So Trouble gives the police a tool when they, let's say they have to remove a child from their home, then they can put Trouble into the child's arms to hang on to as a coping mechanism to keep them, you know, Trouble's there at night when the lights go out, let's put it that way.
Did you ever think you would get to this point with Trouble?
No, I didn't. It was the kids. You know, in the beginning, we had a coloring book and a little medallion. And the kids would say to me, you know, I rub the medallion, it makes me feel better. And I'd think, wow. So it's the kids themselves who have been propelling me to keep going. And I see Trouble. When I look at this drawing of Trouble, I see him as a character who can do so much good.
Obviously, you intended this to help children initially, people with cancer.
Yes.
Are you surprised at how it has affected and helped veterans?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there is a gentleman in Marblehead. I think he's 93, and he sleeps with Trouble every single night. You know, we also, way back, brought Trouble to Walter Reed Army Hospital. We brought 200 Trouble dogs and books, and we brought them in honor of a veteran who was really severely injured. He had lost an arm and a leg. And on the way in, one of the women who was helping me stopped dead, and she said, oh, I'm not sure how these Marines are going to react to these stuffed animals. I said, don't worry about a thing. And in we went. And it was a life-changing day for me. They could not have been more welcoming because they can see the impact of maybe being able to hug Trouble themselves or maybe being able to read the book to their children. You know, if you think about it, Trouble's almost like a 24/7 therapy dog, comfort dog, you know. And that's something in the beginning, I was just, you know, sitting with my niece, just sitting with Kendra, just, you know, just listening to her thoughts. And I think it's such a pure mission because it came from the true desire of a child to help other kids. That's exactly what she said. I have to help those kids.
Do you ever think to yourself, Sheila, why was I the one chosen to do this?
Yes, I do. And sometimes I think, because, you know, I never had children. Never got married, never had children. Because if you were married with kids, you would never have the time to do this. And I think this might be the reason why. Because my goal is to bring Trouble right around the world, and we're working on that now. And also to turn him into a cartoon so kids can watch and learn about the bumps of the road of life, just gently and with humor. You know, it doesn't have to be scary. It can just be 3 minutes of, gee, I had a tough time at school today, or, you know, it doesn't have to be all doom and gloom. It could be a child that's having a nightmare. You know, that's all.
Now, obviously, Trouble, it helps people, comforts people. Yeah. What inspires you on a daily basis, Sheila Duncan? What keeps you going in life?
If I'm having a day where I might wake up tired or I might wake up, you know, with so many things that I need to get accomplished, invariably I will get a phone call or I will get an email from a mother or a grandmother or whatever that inspires me, that tells me, for example, there's a grandmother in Marblehead, and she said, you know, my grandson always grabs Trouble. When any little trouble appears, he grabs Trouble, and miraculously, that trouble disappears because trouble absorbs it. So that's what keeps me going, truly.
The name of the show is You Gotta Love Marblehead, and when I initially came up with the idea, it was a positive, inspirational show. What do you love about Marblehead? What are some things that you love?
Well, you know, because I go way back. I mean, I go back to the old Marbleheaders, you know, like Link Hawks and, I mean, Chip Percy's family from Marblehead and that kind of stuff. And I think it's the people. I think that, you know, I hear lots of wonderful stories because my dad was a real Marblehead character. I hear lots of stories about him, you know. He was such an original philanthropist in Marblehead. So I think I think Marblehead's got a spirit of its own going on, and I think that I'm particularly tuned in to appreciate it.
So you're 12 years into this,
I guess, yeah.
and now you have, a couple of years ago, you developed a book, Where There's Trouble, There's Hope. Let's talk about your book.
Well, this was our second book. The first book was Here's Trouble, which just explained his origins and, you know, the fact that he had been abandoned as a puppy and rescued by a nanny, all based on Kendra's story. And in the back of my mind, I wanted a little character named Hope. And Melanie Fleming, who works with me, I work with Melanie, and also a wonderful woman by the name of Carrie Schluter, just superb. They're just superb. I can't say enough about them. So we put our heads together and wrote a book, you know, very, very simple, very sweet, and introduced a new puppy who needed help, who had been, you know, left in a snowdrift, and her name is Hope. And, you know, just to add a little hope to the story.
Okay, we have Trouble,
Yes.
and now Hope has been introduced.
Yes, and Trouble has two other compadres. One is a Puerto Rican rescue dog who happens to be real, named Luigi. And one is a puppy mill dog who's very, what shall I say, selfish, and her name is Roxy.
Are there any other characters on the horizon do you want to tell us about, or you want to keep that a mystery?
There is one more character on the horizon who's pretty magical, and he pops in and pops out. So he's almost like a little guide for Trouble. When Trouble's maybe gonna get into a little trouble himself, this little character, you'll hear like a little ding, and he pops in and lands right on Trouble's nose. He's this big, and he has a voice like a broadcaster, and he guides Trouble along.
So stay tuned for the new character.
That is correct.
And if anybody's watching right now, you said you want to make this into a cartoon.
Well, you know, interestingly, I have presented Trouble to Disney Junior, and they were very, very interested, but they felt that Trouble should simply be a character that gets into trouble. And I felt he should be deeper than that. So, you know, we've definitely got some oars in the water as far as a cartoon goes, because, you know, Trouble is, he's a very unique character because he's talking about the tough stuff that's happening today. And all of this bad news is trickling down to the young ones. And I know it because they're talking to Trouble about it at night, and their parents can hear them in their bedrooms talking to Trouble.
There's a lot of tough stuff going on with children nowadays.
Correct.
What are some of the things that you hear that really inspire you to really continue to keep this going? What are some of the things you'd like to share?
You know, the kids will talk about maybe there's a mean girl at school, or, you know, they hear what's going on with the shootings and everything. We did an event when the whole Newtown tragedy happened. And I don't know if we've spoken about it or not, but we brought down hundreds of Trouble dogs, books, and houses, and we did an event. And at that event, all the children who were there had been directly affected by the Newtown tragedy, which was like the first school shooting, you know. And so we had each of the children, we set each of them up with a house, with Trouble inside the house. I told the story. A gentleman came and read the book. The kids were allowed to color the houses. I was walking around the room. I could see that on the side of the houses, they would independently of each other, I love you, all different spots on the house. And I said, who are you writing that to? Trouble the dog. And their parents are the ones, some of the ones who tell me that the kids would not talk to their parents, but they would hear them talking to Trouble in their bedrooms, which then opened the conversation. You know, that's what we talk about, hope. The kids feel comfortable enough to talk to Trouble. And then will feel comfortable enough to come out holding Trouble and talk about hopefully what's on their minds. So he like opens things up for them.
We've mentioned the kids. What do you hear from cancer survivors or people that have cancer?
Well, it's funny you ask. Yesterday, I got a message from a woman who has also been a wonderful supporter. She's from New York. And she has purchased Trouble to send to children with cancer. As a matter of fact, she just wants another one for a little girl that has leukemia. She was just diagnosed herself just a few days ago with breast cancer. And she said, one of the first things that went through my mind was, oh, now I need a Trouble myself.
Wow.
The reactions that I'm getting, I wish people could follow me around, because that's what keeps me going. It's powerful, powerful stuff, is that people really need something to hang on to today, you know?
And what are some of the things you hear with the veterans?
Well, the veterans, you know, they need to talk. They need comfort too. And they're in a little bit of a different situation because they're grown-up men, you know? But I'm finding that they are also, I mean, I have a picture that I'm not allowed to share of a Marine who's sound asleep hanging on to Trouble the dog, and he had a terrible injury. And so they need something to hug just as much as we all do, you know?
What about adults that have been traumatized in their childhood? What are they saying about Trouble?
You're a perfect example, is that they're saying that they too sleep with Trouble the dog. So I can't reiterate enough that there's a magic, because this was a divinely inspired mission, whatever your religious belief is, because I'm not a religious person. Trouble definitely has a mission to come and comfort people. And it doesn't matter how old you are or how tough you are. That's exactly what he's doing.